Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's been a while. I know you guys been missing us, but we are finally back here, and we are here with post-game reactions. Going against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday night, the Indianapolis Colts suffered a loss. It was heartbreaking, but I think we all wanted this to happen anyway in the long-term goals that we have planned for this team. But I'm not alone. I got my two co-hosts here with me, Landon and Mike. Mike, how we doing down there at the bottom, man?
Doing good. Who is it sad for who?
That's that for us. So there's some passionate fans out there that actually still want to see a victory.
Yeah.
Shockingly, but yeah, you know how that goes. Landon, how we doing up there, man?
Hey, we're doing good, man. I always like to see a win. I don't ever like to see losses, but if you're in for the draft season like Mike is down there, then yeah, I guess it was a good night. I'm just glad it was a competitive game. It was a good game. Went down to the final minute. That's all I wanted to see was a good football game.
Absolutely. I think that makes all of us. I think we all can agree on that.
Define your definition of good, I guess, but it was a game.
A very loose term.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna go ahead and hop into the game though. Let's go ahead and start off at the beginning. The first half, the Colts did not put up any type of offensive yardage at all. Like it was just poor lackluster. And to make it worse, to start off the game, Matt Ryan threw an interception. I don't think anybody's seen that coming. Of course, we knew that the offense was going to struggle, but starting off the game with an interception has to be one of the worst ways to do it, especially on primetime when Colts fans ask for primetime games. We're going to start with Landon. What was your impressions on the first half and that lackluster of the offense?
It's bad all the way around, really. A lot of factors go into it. I know we're excited to get into some of it here shortly, but just bad quarterback play, bad line play, bad offensive game plan. Steelers really kind of, made the Colts operate like they didn't want to operate. And they weren't making mistakes at all on offense. They were very efficient. Kenny Pickett played a fantastic first half, took what was given to him, didn't force anything. And that's what this Colts defense really tries to do is, kind of make you uncomfortable. And for a rookie quarterback to come in and look as poised as he did, it was really impressive. He was really, really impressive yesterday. It was just one of those things where in the first half it was, Steelers played their game plan, didn't make mistakes, played efficient football, and it was the exact opposite for the Colts.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Mike, what was your impressions on the first half for the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, I mean, the first quarter was pretty pathetic. They had 0 yards of total offense in the first quarter. So, like you said, that first drive, it was an interception. There was just 0 zip on that ball. There was 0 power behind it. I don't even think Ryan had set his feet, into that throw. And then Michael Pittman, I mean, as wide receivers, you're not necessarily taught to just stand there and wait for the ball. Like you got to come back to it. But in that situation, looking back at it, what was it like a 3-4 yard slant, 4-yard hitch or something like that? I don't think he wanted to lose any yardage. He just wanted to get in. I think it was on a 3rd and short as well. So probably just catch the ball, fall back, get the first down. That was pathetic. And then nobody was getting separation in the first half. Matt Ryan looking like a deer in headlights, not fitting any balls anywhere. And there was really just a lack of creativity in the offensive game calling or play calling rather from Parks Frazier in this game. And still, this is like his 3rd game calling plays, so not necessarily that surprise, not that big of a deal, but it was just lackluster, man. It was got the run game going a little bit, but the pass game is the bread and butter of today's NFL, and if you can't pass the ball, you're not going to win anything. So really disappointed in how the game has been. I just kept wondering, when you're in the first half, is Jeff Saturday going to make that change? Like move Matt Ryan and bring Sam Ehlinger back in, because it's not necessarily because Sam is not better than Matt. Behind this offensive line, Sam Ehlinger is the better fit because he can extend plays. He can avoid some rushes. Matt Ryan just can't, even though he possibly had the best rushing stat-wise, the best rushing game in like the last 5 years. But at the end of the day, kind of wanted to see Sam in this game just because of how they were getting after Ryan a little bit early. So, but that first half was just ugly all around. 0 pass game, no protection. I mean, most importantly, it's just the pass game. Like you can't go anywhere when your quarterback has zero velocity, zero zip on the ball, and that's been like we get up here and joke, right? Like, oh my gosh, it was because of Frank Reich. Like we get up and joke, but the issue from day one has always been at the quarterback position, followed by lack of protection, and that's not going anywhere. So it's been the same problem since day one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Lack of protection definitely played a factor, but you can't even use that anymore because I think personally, I think the offensive line played way better than we expected, especially when you see a guy like TJ Watt go quiet in a game like this when we expect him to just dominate. I don't think that's going to be the answer or question next week, but this week was definitely a shocker from the offensive line. We've seen progressions from Braden Smith. Of course, we lost Ryan Kelly, but I mean, Will Fries came in and pretty much played a pretty decent job as well. But definitely think this offensive line wasn't the issue. I think it was more on Matt Ryan holding on to the ball for a long amount of times, and there's just not getting the ball there. But we're gonna move on to him getting the ball there towards the end of the game. We're gonna mention the second half now. The second half, I think, it shocked everybody. First, we're gonna give credit to Dallas Flowers for definitely giving us a momentum boost that we needed on that huge kick return. I think we've all been craving for a kick return touchdown since week one because we have the talent on that on special teams, but we just never can get that to actually go. But Dallas Flowers definitely 89 yards was freaking incredible. It definitely sparked the offense, and we wound up actually scoring after that. But the second half for sure, Matt Ryan started to get in rhythm. He started to look more like Matty Ice. Still wasn't hitting all cylinders, but the struggles that we seen in the first half wasn't really looking like that. What I'm gonna start with Landon here. In the second half, what did you see differently from Matt Ryan that you've seen from the first half?
Well, he was just a lot more decisive. They went into the halftime. They made pretty good adjustments there. Not really too much different, but I know like I hate saying stuff like this, but the Steelers really themselves they kind of got out of their game plan. It seems like they stopped doing what was working, started playing off a little bit more, started playing that zone, not wanting to give up the deep shot. And if you're going to do that, Matt Ryan can beat you. If you're not going to get up and press these guys and make them go ahead and try to beat you on routes, and the offensive line did hold up well to your credit. Some you talked about earlier, they were very good at pass protection. Only allowed less than 19% pressure percentage on passing plays for the game. And that's winning football. Now in the run blocking, they weren't that great, but in the pass blocking scheme, you can win with that. And especially whenever you have, and I think you saw a lot of this too going on. The second half was Matt Ryan actually, stepping up into the pocket, avoiding that edge rush where these guys were going around. They're able to, step up into the pocket. He's able to deliver the ball on time, accurately. Yeah, I mean, it kind of played into their hands exactly what the Colts wanted to do, and for whatever reason, the Steelers kind of got away from what they were doing well in the first half. But if they're going to do that, you absolutely take advantage of it. And yeah, it ended up being well. And I do actually like. I'm really excited to talk about what we're going to get into later because I can kind of really break down a little bit more on why things are the way they are right now with the offense. But yeah, I mean, like if that's how you want to play the Colts, they can eat you alive playing that type of hurry up 2 minute, 4 minute drill offense where they're getting to the line quick, really quick outlet passes, not getting under pressure. And Matt was very accurate there. He seemed a lot more decisive and where he wanted to go with the ball. So credit to him.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. I thought about this when he was driving down the field in the second half and just hitting all cylinders. I was asking myself, I said, if it takes the second half for Matt Ryan to actually wake up and be better than what he was in the first half, I would take that in there because he gives us a better chance. I think we could have, probably laid off of the passing game a little bit in the first half since it wasn't working and probably switched it up a little bit. But like I said, but to be honest, it is still Jeff Saturday, still an interim coach. He's still got his trying to get his feet under him as that head coach position. So is Park Frazier. I mean, it's still a young team with the new coaching experience, trying to figure things out. And you're going up against a defensive savvy Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh Steelers team that's pretty much bad this year, but still know what they need to do to get a victory. and they did what they had to do for sure. But definitely did see a difference in Matt Ryan in the second half, and in which we enjoyed. And it feels like when Ryan Kelly got out the game, I feel like everything started to move a little bit smoother. And this is not to take away from Ryan Kelly what he can do, but I feel like with the younger guys on that offensive line, this could be something that you could look forward to in the future with these guys if we do happen to make some type of changes with that offensive line structure. Since Mike is back, we're going to ask you, what did you see differently from Matt Ryan in the second half than what you've seen in the first half to get that spark for the Colts to try to win this game?
I saw that he was just quick and decisive. He tried to get the ball out a little bit more quicker. Clearly, maybe there was a gathering, a come to Jesus moment or something in the locker room. But what I saw was just the offensive line, first of all, was blocking better. That's number one of all things. And then they got the run game going, and then that kind of made Pittsburgh, guess a little bit, okay, they're going to go run pass, even though sometimes they can be predictable. Like Landon said, we'll get to that in a minute. But the fact that they were just guys were catching the ball, they were getting open, and Matt Ryan was hitting the throws. That was the biggest thing. That's been the nature of what this season has been for the Colts. When everybody's doing the job, you see what this offense could be at times, and when they're not, it's a really ugly offense to watch. It's not necessarily a game where offensive minds are going to take to their players and say, "Look at this great offense." But that was really what I saw. First of all, the offensive line stepped up, the running game got going. So that was my main takeaway.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely think that the second half, if the Colts can take anything moving forward for this season, or maybe even next season, if they do decide to bring Matt Ryan back, or he decides to give it one more go, I think that second half should be some type of structure of what they want to do moving forward, and hopefully they can get it figured out into the future. But that's for another conversation. We're gonna go back to this game. We mentioned the interception at the beginning of the game from Matt Ryan, but there were two more turnovers, which was that strip sack from Matt Ryan, in which we recovered, and the Jonathan Taylor handoff, what was actually a fumble that they almost gave to Matt Ryan when it wasn't even his fault. Let's mention Jonathan Taylor starting off. Mike, I'm going to ask you first. What is the problem with the fumbling for the Indianapolis Colts, and can it be fixed? I want to ask you personally first.
I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, that's Jonathan Taylor's fourth fumble this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably
officially it was charged to Matt Ryan, but
right.
Yeah.
That should have been his fourth.
That was his fourth, and that was his third. That could have ultimately cost the Colts a win. So, what is the problem, man? I have no idea. With running backs, from year to year, things can change for them. Last year you saw Jonathan Taylor not put the ball on the ground. Really, his first 2 years in the NFL, not to put the ball on the ground at all. And then in 1 year, he has 4 fumbles. It changes year to year with running backs, and what the issue is. Not holding on to the football. I know he's had an injury that he's dealt with in the last few weeks. There were a couple of times in the Eagles game, did he get rolled up on? Did he get hurt or something? I don't think so. The fumbling outside of Matt Ryan has just been Jonathan Taylor. And when you're giving the ball away at the rate that you have been all season, and then you're also, again, like we've talked about, a limited offense, you really have no margin for error, regardless of who it is. Whoever is fumbling, you have no margin for error when you are that limited of an offense. And like that was Jonathan Taylor's fourth fumble this season. Not in his career, this season. And it's the third that you could arguably say cost the Colts a win.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go to Landon. What did you think about the fumble with Jonathan Taylor? Can it be fixed? And how much of a problem do you think this is going to be moving forward as well?
Well, really, yeah, it absolutely can be fixed. The issue is, and this is even kind of going back to last night, he's just pressing. He's trying to do too much. He doesn't trust his offensive line. So you even saw it last night where he was looking for the hole before he even got the ball. His eyes weren't where they should have been. He wasn't concerned on getting the ball and securing the snap and hitting the hole. He was concerned on finding the hole first. So That's really the main issue. It's just a lack of trust in your offensive line. It's a lack of trust that the holes are going to be open whenever you secure that snap. And he's in his own head. He's thinking too much. He's trying to do too much before he secures that ball. And even, you know, there was the one, against Philadelphia last week where I thought the ball they should have blown the play dead anyway. I mean, how many times you have 10 guys, in a pile on one or two guys and they don't call it dead? I mean, that's not really much you can do about that. But some of the other ones, it's just bad luck. I know the one there a few weeks ago, whenever it popped out on him, it was just a really good play by the defender there, put his helmet right on that ball in a tackle. I mean, most guys are going to fumble in that situation. So I don't really necessarily think it's 100% on Jonathan Taylor. I don't think it's an issue that we should be concerned about going forward, but it is concerning from the aspect of you can't give the ball away in your own red zone, which the Colts love to do whenever they get down there within the 30-yard line. They love to give that ball back to the other team. You can't do that. But I don't really consider it a huge issue for Jonathan Taylor. And I think as this line gets a little more comfortable and he gets a little more comfortable and the season goes on, I expect him to kind of be the same guy that you've seen the last couple of years.
I agree. I think.
You mean like for this season, Landon?
Yeah, even for this season. I think the line, as we talked about earlier, the line what didn't really play bad last night, and I think you've seen them get more comfortable as the weeks have gone on with the insertion now of Will Fries and Bernard Ryman. They had a really good game last night. To me, I thought the weak link last night was actually Fries. I didn't think he had a very particular good game, but I didn't think Ryan Kelly was bad in pass protection. And he only missed a couple plays whenever he was hurt. He didn't. Pinner didn't play that much, but
I thought he missed like maybe a drive, right?
Yeah, it was just a few plays. It wasn't that much, and then he got back in there. He had a strong day. Quentin Nelson, not a good day run blocking, but a really good day in the pass protection.
Braden Smith put the handcuffs on TJ Watt.
Yeah, obviously we know what Braden Smith did. It was a good day in this line. The biggest thing for line play is continuity. As these guys get more comfortable with each other and the rookies kind of get their feet under them a little bit more, you're going to see weekly improvement. I think as that line improves, as the year goes on, Jonathan Taylor has a little bit more trust for him, stuff like that. Then, I think some of those fumbling issues are going to be alleviated even this year.
Yeah, I agree too, man. For sure. This could be a positive sign for the Colts moving forward. They see who's working with the offensive line, and if they can keep it together, and get rid of the wink links, I think we can go back to seeing a decent offensive line for the Colts moving forward. But they have to keep that same line together and that core, and I think building that chemistry will be good for the long run in the future for the Colts. But we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the most controversial moment in this game. Probably was the last 2 minutes of the game with 3 timeouts. And the Colts just did not use 2 at all. I'm going to start with Landon first. First, did you think the Colts should have used the timeouts, or do you understand why the timeouts weren't used? Let me just get your thoughts on that whole 2 minutes.
So to me, it wasn't necessarily that they didn't use the timeouts, for time purposes, because I did think they had plenty of time. To me, the issue was whenever you have a team that's still trying to find itself. They are moving the ball, but that's a big play. That's a big play, and these guys have struggled in big moments. Once that third down run happened, and you're in fourth down territory at that point. It's I probably would have taken it after that Matt Ryan scramble, just not necessarily because of the time on the clock, but just to kind of regroup everybody and say, okay, let's all get our heads together. Let's all get ready to execute, stuff like that. But I understand why it wasn't an issue because of the time. But where I disagreed with it is more from like a game planning perspective. And, you have to make sure your guys are ready to step up in big moments and execute with the game on the line. And a lot of the time we see that the Colts haven't necessarily been that great at that. And I do know they do have, the multiple game winning drives early on in the season, but it's one of those things where Jeff Saturday, this goes back to him being raw. I mean, he's a little over, in over his head a little bit. He's still trying to get his feet wet. That's a decision that, I'm hoping he learns from, but that's what happens whenever you haven't coached at even like a higher level, even college level. That's something that happens. But hopefully he learns from it. I'm sure he will. He's a smart dude, but yeah, it's a lot different than playing and you're playing and you're ready to roll, and because he's looking at it from a player's perspective, right? So he's sitting there, he's like, hey, like we're rolling, let's keep it on, let's keep foot on the gas, let's keep going, we got plenty of time. But this isn't from a player's perspective now. This is you're a head coach, so that's kind of my only issue with it. But as far as it being used because of time on the clock, I thought they had plenty of time on the clock. I wasn't worried about that.
All right, Mike, let me get your thoughts on the 2-minute warning and the whole timeout situation.
So for me, correct me if I'm wrong. The big play to Michael Pittman, that was after the 2-minute warning, right?
Yes, I
you're right.
So.
I would have used the timeout right after that. You went 47 yards down the field. I would have used the timeout right there. Regroup everybody. All right. We made the big play. We covered half the ground that we needed to, maybe even a couple yards more. Let's reset. What's the game plan moving forward? What are we looking at? What do we like? Jeff Saturday, get on the headset. Get with Matt. Matt, what do you like? Get on the headset. Park. I'm not entirely sure how that whole operation works. I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm all there, but right there, that's where me personally, I would have used it. I was expecting one right there because, again, you're going 47 yards down the field. Everybody's running. You're also kind of putting your team almost at a little bit of a disadvantage because not only are they sprinting down the field, but not only do your 5 offensive linemen sprint down the field, they have to get into a 5-point or 3-point stance and be set. And then you snap the ball. That is an area. Now, it didn't affect them that time, but most of the time when you get into those areas, there could be a mental lapse there by a lineman. False start. Most of the time.
I think we lost Mike there.
Yeah. Well, like what he was saying, like about like it being like a mental lapse with your lineman, that did actually come into play later on because we saw that last play. The play that essentially ended the game there. Everybody focuses on Bernard Ryman getting pushed back there on that play, but really it was the big issue on that play was
scramble. Would he use?
Oh, there he is.
Oh.
He's gone again. Mike, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, you dropped out a little bit, man.
Oh, my bad. Freaking spectrums. But yeah, I would have used 2. The timeouts aren't the reason the Colts lost. That's not the reason. Like there's freaking 10 other reasons why they lost this game. But the way I took it, and I agree with Landon, that was gonna be my point. Jeff Saturday in the player's mindset, he wants to leave it up to the player, let them make the call instead of be the head, make those decisions.
Yeah, as soon as he said he agreed with me, the internet was like, nope, can't be having that.
They has not disconnected.
Coach Realm.
Yeah.
Landon, go ahead and keep going. I'm gonna figure it out on my end real quick. I don't want to keep getting
you're good.
cut out.
No, you're good. But yeah, like so what I was saying was on that last play, everybody kind of points to Bernard Ryman as being the issue because you see him, he does get bull rushed and pushed back into the quarterback a little bit, but he did anchor later in that rush. And the big issue was there was a stunt on the right side between Fries and Smith that was not picked up by Fries. And you saw the internal pressure where you would like to have, Matt Ryan be able to kind of step up into the pocket and avoid that rush instead of having to sprint outside. I don't ever want to see Matt Ryan sprinting out of the pocket. Like, that's not good. But if he can step up and kind of like dovetail into his drop and kind of, step up into that pocket there, which he couldn't because there was pressure on the right side. So even though Ryman anchored later in that, on the initial push, you see him get driven back and you see him kind of, everybody's get his Michael's connection. That's hilarious. That's really good. But the main issue on that play to me was, one, it was a great defensive play. They read the play perfectly. It's a pick play between Doolin and Campbell. And it just got blown up. But, you would like him to be able to step up into that right side of the line after Ryman anchored, later in that rush and be able to go through his progressions. But because of the missed stunt on the right side between Smith and Fries, that internal pressure kind of forced him to have to roll out to the right. And, once you get him out of the pocket and throwing, it's never a good thing. So,
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna get one comment here. He says, "Please draft AR-15. I don't care if his accuracy isn't there yet. The guy's 20 years old, and with only 15 reps topping his young career, you have plenty to work with." Do you guys agree with that or not?
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm cool with AR-15. I'm cool with anyone we take out of those four: Young, Stroud, Levis. Even though me personally, my number one guy would be Levis, or AR-15. I'm cool with any of them. I think last night, especially in the first half, Kenny Pickett showed you like a mobile quarterback goes such a long way. You go back to the 2-point conversion to George Pickens. That was an absolutely perfect throw. A perfect throw. And he was out of the pocket on that play. I believe that was the 2-point conversion, right?
Well, when he kicked George Pickens.
So
yeah.
As long as you're mobile, man, that's the first step in my opinion. And then secondly, I'm cool with AR-15. He's solid.
All right, Landon.
Yeah, I like Richardson. To me, the biggest thing, what I've really loved is the growth from him over like the last like 5 or 6 weeks compared to where he was, the first 3 or 4 weeks. You really see that growth in his footwork and his base and even his accuracy to an extent. It's kind of picked up some. So, yeah, very young guy. Not a lot of, games under his belt, but he definitely has the tools. And I love to see guys that improve as the year goes on because it shows you how much they're, putting the time in during the season and working with their coaches and stuff like that. So it shows you that he is coachable. He's willing to work hard. He's willing to listen. And he's willing to not only practice it in, practice, but it translates to the field as well. And that's obviously the most important part. So, yeah, I like what I see from Richardson. I'm also a big Levis guy, as you know. I think Will's fantastic. And then there's some other guys too I'm a big fan of. I don't think we're going to be able to, be necessarily in the position for Stroud. I think he's or not Stroud, but Bryce Young. I think he's pretty clearly going to be the first quarterback off the board, more than likely going 1 overall to Houston, if they maintain that pick. But yeah, there's a lot of really good, toolsy, mobile, big-armed guys in this class. It's like if you need a quarterback, that you can mold. There's so many young guys in this class that can really, fit here.
Real quick, This is a question that I just came up with. Sorry to cut you off, Marcus.
Oh, you're good.
Landon, I'll give my opinion after you give yours, but about Hendon Hooker, are you out on him?
Yeah, I'm never necessarily going to be out on a guy completely because it's all dependent on draft capital. But as far as like where would I take him if you were talking about in like the first or second round, probably not. Hendon Hooker to me was always a really hard evaluation because of the offense he plays in there in Tennessee. It really masks the things that he would be asked to do in an NFL offense. It's tough to see anything that necessarily translates to the professional level of football. And that was always kind of worried me now before that, the injury. And then on top of that, I'm never truly worried about age, but now that he's going to be out for a year rehabbing, the guy might be 26 years old before he ever takes a snap in the NFL. And I think, to me, I would rather go with a different option if you are picking early and you're sold. But I mean, say third, fourth round rolls around and he's still sitting there, staring you in the face in the fourth round. I don't think it's a bad dart throw for a team. Absolutely don't.
Okay, I was just interested because his footwork was just always a question mark to me. He literally just stands still and just makes a throw. He kind of reminds me of Kenny Hill. He made a lot of throws just based on his arm talent, never really set his feet, never really stepped into throws. It was just his arm talent, zero mechanics. And that was just my biggest thing about Hendon Hooker. And I asked the question because of the ACL tear. Now that makes his report even that much tougher for him.
Kid. I hate that so much.
I hate it, man.
He's such a good kid.
He was about to cash in.
But man, I think too, what makes it difficult is that type of offense they run. It's very like a Art Miles, it's called a veer and shoot.
Yeah.
And so it's very dependent on wide receiver reads, whereas normally you would have your quarterback making the reads and going through the progressions. It's really dependent more on your wide receivers. They have 3 routes per play, and they base what they're going to run pre and post snap on what the cornerback is showing them. And as the quarterback, especially with the protection he has there, because they have a very good offensive line, you're able to kind of set back and wait for that wide receiver to make his read, and then you're just throwing it to the open guy. It's like fish in a barrel. And you really kind of see that. And that type of offense cannot be run at the NFL level. So while he did show you he can make through progressions. And I mean, I'm sure he's a very smart kid. I'm not saying he can't do that. I'm just saying what Tennessee asked him to do is almost completely different than what he's going to be asked to do in the NFL. And that's why I was really excited to get, hopefully see him at the Senior Bowl this year, because he's going to be put into that situation. And now with his ACL tear, he's going to miss that. And that was going to be huge for him and where he was going to be in the draft. And it really is disheartening to see something like that happen, because I think he was having a fantastic season. He really, kind of exploded onto the scene this year. And now it's kind of, he's right back to square one. But, he's a tough kid. He'll work his way back from it. But, I'm probably not looking to draft him within the first two rounds.
All right, back to the Colts. I just wanted to get your opinion on Hendon Hooker.
Yes, back to the Colts. Landon did mention something about players stepping up when he was talking about the quarterback at AR-15, and I want to mention that in this Colts game. What Colts players, even though we lost, do you think stepped up big time in this game? We're going to start with you, Mike.
I got the stat box here in front of me. I don't want to be too obvious with it, but then again, I'm still just so impressed with Zaire Franklin, man. I'm just so impressed with him. He leads the league in tackles because he is just on every run play, on every.
Zaire Franklin. All right, Landon, until he gets back, let me get your players that you think stepped up.
Well, one, I think Bernard Ryman is the obvious one, and really both tackles, I think, did a really fantastic job. Obviously they had the issues late in the game on that the last few plays there, but overall for the game, they really stepped up into what I thought was a really good offensive line or defensive line, and I thought they were really good. I thought Zaire Franklin, of course, was really good. To kind of echo Mike there. I think he's back here now, but yeah, it was really offensive line for me that really stepped up, and as a whole, especially the bookend tackles, I thought they were fantastic. Jelani Woods too, man, what a performance from that kid. He's slowly kind of he's getting there, and I think if he ever truly figures it out. And I think he's dealing with a little bit of an injury or illness and stuff like that. So he probably wasn't 100%. because he wasn't, running past and through guys like I think he normally would after the catch. So once he kind of, gets 100%, kind of gets his feet under him, and man, like he has some scary potential to do some like dangerous things in this league because of that, size and speed.
All right, Mike, you back?
Yeah, went ahead and switched over to my hotspot. Screw this Wi-Fi.
All right. Well, you was talking about Zaire before you left. Landon mentioned both of the tackles and Jelani Woods, but you can go ahead back to your point now that you're back.
Yeah, Zaire Franklin just continues. I want that guy to be a Colt for life, man. Like it is a shame that he was on the sideline for 4 years. It's just a shame that he was just a special teams ace, and now that he's in a system where linebackers thrive, you're seeing what he's able to do with this opportunity. 11 tackles last night, 5 of them being solo. And then Bobby Okereke having a big-time stop on a run play, very third and short, I believe, early in the game. The linebackers, to me, have been like the biggest success on the Colts defense all season. In a year where you don't have your all-pro linebacker, your all-pro line, the best linebacker in football, you don't have him. And you are still one of the better linebacker rooms in the NFL. And I just can't. These guys have earned multi-year contracts. Zaire Franklin came back on a 1-year deal. I think it was like one for $4 million or something like that. Both of these guys have earned multi-year deals. And, we're not getting into Shaq Leonard, but those two guys I want back on multi-year deals. They continue to be the MVPs of this defense this year.
I agree, man. All you guys, both of you that mentioned the players that stepped up are definitely guys I would have mentioned as well. But you guys were right on the nose with those suggestions as well. I agree, man. Jelani Woods, Zaire Franklin continues to be a dog. We can mention Grover Stewarts of the world, the DeForest Buckners, but that's normal for us because they've been lights out on all cylinders pretty much the whole season. So it would just be a discredit just to give them credit right now because they just been flat out phenomenal. Definitely Pro Bowl worthy candidates. We got a few questions in the chat while you guys are holding the conversation, so we can get this thing going and try to interact. The first question I thought was pretty decent is, do you think the Colts are keeping Campbell next year? Landon, you can answer first.
Really it depends on who the GM is, honestly. But I think that he has earned another, a shorter contract, maybe a 2-year contract, just because like it's hard to pay guys after 1 year after you've had the previous 3 years and haven't really had the production or stayed healthy. But I think if he signs a couple year prove it deal, or even just a 1 year prove it deal, if he's able to stay healthy 2 years in a row and perform at the level and continue growing, then yeah, I think he has a very good shot to catch on. But it's kind of going to depend on, one, who's the GM and who's signing the stuff, how's signing the players, and then 2, if Campbell's going to be willing to make that sacrifice and bet on himself for another year. But he seems like a loyal guy. He seems like he's really committed to this organization and committed to working his way back. And I mean, it's kind of a long answer to say I don't know, I guess, but I certainly would. I would bring him back if I was making the decision.
All right, Mike, you're up.
Yeah, I agree. It just depends on who the GM's going to be. If it's Chris Ballard, I 100% expect Paris Campbell to be back. If it's another one, I don't think he will. The new GM, he has no loyalty to Paris. It wasn't his draft pick. He'll probably put his own offense with his own vision of players in it. He might even go the route of free agency. But the biggest thing this year for Paris was just about staying healthy. Like, put up whatever stat line you want. The biggest thing was his health, and he has been healthy all season. Huge win. He's got 5 games to go. Clearly knocking on wood for him to stay healthy. Me personally, now like getting away from logic. If it was me personally, I don't know, because I still think there's guys on the open market that can help me more than him. But then again, he would be healthy. Could his speed come back to him a little bit? Could he get a, Will Fuller with the Dolphins type deal, 1 year, $10 million when he left Houston? Could he get that type of deal somewhere? But I would lean right now him not coming back.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that decision. If it was up to me, I would bring him back. But also, I think he can get in the wide receiver market of free agency. I think he can get a better contract elsewhere just due to his production this year and actually being available. I think there's a team out there that's willing to give him more money than what the contract that the Colts will give him, depending on who's in office. Personally, but I do think he can go to any team and produce. That's no question. But I do think he'll probably have a bigger role somewhere else as well. But it all goes down to, like you both said, who's the GM and what's going to be happening moving forward. But I'm not opposed to bringing him back. He's been a dog all year. He's been reliable. You even seen it at the end of the game to try to get yards. They threw it to him, double covered. So I think that speaks for his role in the offense and how important he is. But shout out to Paris Campbell, man. Definitely been a huge success this year, and we're happy that he stayed healthy. Good question, Tyrell. Another question is, besides QB, are there any other players you would like to see the Colts draft? Mike, you can go first. I know you got some guys.
So I'm not going to go with the obvious. I've spoken about him from Texas Tech, obviously. Y'all know I love that guy. A guy who I was kind of hoping would enter the draft if the Colts were kind of out of the area for a quarterback was Fashanu from Penn State. He is now going back to school for his senior year. He won't be in the draft this year. He was aiming to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite tackle in this draft. For me, I don't see any elite corners in this draft like we've seen in years prior with, the J.C. Horns of the world, the Ahmad Gardners, the Derek Stingleys of the world. Derek Stingley was my draft crush for 2 years, even when he wasn't eligible. But to me, the first round, it's either quarterback, left tackle, or edge rusher. I'm going one of those three, the three most important positions. So in terms of players, obviously Tyree Wilson, left tackle is going to be Peter Skoronski, but an edge rusher that, Miles Murphy from Clemson, does he fit? Again, we don't know the direction of the Colts and where they're going. Whoever the next head coach is,
does he fit should just be yes. That should be
right. It should be yes. But then again, should he fit in a 4-3 or a 3-4, whoever the DC is that is hired? I don't think Gus Bradley will be retained. That rarely happens ever. So, but Miles Murphy is a guy that I'm aiming. Obviously, everybody would want Will Anderson, right? But Peter Skoronski, that guy.
Better.
What?
I said, I think Miles Murphy's going to be a better pro.
Okay, he's going to be a better pro. Okay. So he's not talking about maybe a prospect, but as in terms of a better pro. I'm not mad at that.
No, I mean as a prospect, I think he's a better prospect than Will Anderson.
Oh, okay. Now you tripping.
Hey, I know it's gonna hurt some feelings out there, but I can only give you my evaluation. I'm just saying. That's why I said the answer to Miles Murphy for any question should just be yes. Yes.
All right, so he gave his. So what's yours, Landon?
Well, a little bit opposite on the other end. While I don't think there's a, top high end, Sauce Gardner, lockdown corner at the top. I think this is a very deep corner draft. I think there's some really good prospects. I think, so I would really love to see them take a shot on a cornerback. Offensive guard, a guy like Voorhees there from USC. I think he could be a really strong prospect as well here on the interior. Possibly center could be something. This isn't like a very good center class. Outside of Avila, I know Mike's boy down there from TCU, but I mean, I would really just like to see them attack edge rush. I think corner could be a good spot, and then you can never have too many wide receivers either. Which this isn't like the end all be all wide receiver classes that we've used to have at this point, but there's a lot of really good guys in this class. Rashee Rice has been one of my guys I love. Super excited to him.
Really good.
Really good player. And I think he could really fit in with what the Colts need on offense. So those would be some of the guys that I would be targeting, but it kind of starts and ends with quarterback to me. If you don't have that guy there under center, whether it's this year and it needs to be this year, if we're being honest, but if you don't have that guy under center, it doesn't really matter, what other positions you're going to take, because it's, you're kind of just doomed at the end of the day.
Yeah, I want to hop on top of that. Another one would be tight end Michael Mayer. Like, I get it. You drafted Jelani Woods and Drew Ogletree.
I was going to say, let's not forget Ogletree's coming back next year.
Yeah, Ogletree is coming back.
Getting another draft pick back. That's like getting a player back next year.
Yeah. Michael Mayer, I kind of view it as kind of the Paris Campbell. Just because you have these guys on roster doesn't mean, okay, we'll be fine. Okay, you can't outdevelop everybody in the NFL at every position. It just can't happen. But if you wanted to go maybe luxury, while I do think Jelani Woods and Drew Ogletree will be fine. If you wanted to go luxury, you could go Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. But I'm gonna build off what Landon said. If you wanted to go luxury and get some wide receivers, Quentin Johnston from TCU, Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, those two guys, if they were added to this room with already tall wide receivers, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, who in year 2 I think should really take a big jump. Regardless, Hyatt or Johnston, if Johnston declares for the draft, I'm pretty sure he will. I would absolutely love those guys. Jordan Addison from USC. I would love quarterback, edge rusher, left tackle, but I would not be mad at wide receiver for sure.
I agree.
So, I didn't know. Are we talking about the first round of the draft, or is it just
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I was wondering because I was going to be like, man, a lot of these guys probably ain't going to be. I was looking at Quentin Johnston, but
me too. And I was thinking that because we was just talking 15. About Paris Campbell.
Yeah, I was picking him in the top 15. You likely ain't grabbing that guy. So
I agree, especially if Paris is gone, Johnson would just fit in perfectly, replacing Paris Campbell. So we do have some questions. We did mention Ballard already a few times, so I don't think we need to talk about that. There's a rumor going around about Zach Wilson. If you guys heard about it.
No.
I have not seen the report. I haven't heard any rumors. I heard anything about it.
No,
yeah, me neither.
So
there's a rumor, that
not, but yeah, I mean, it's not even that I don't like Zach Wilson. I think he's young and all that, but at the end of the day, man, you got to quit taking these retreads on. You got to quit trying to bring other people's trash to make it your treasure. Go out and get your own guy, develop your own guy.
Hey man, while I'm recovering from being dizzy after shaking my head 30 times, there are 20 episodes that people can go back through the draft process and hear me talk about why I didn't like Zach Wilson. Didn't like him then, don't like him now. No. I'll take Kyler Murray before I take Zach Wilson.
I don't think it's all on Zach Wilson, though. I really don't. I think he does some good things, and that's a conversation for another episode.
Yeah, I agree. Poor Zach Wilson. He'll be okay. He probably just got to find a better spot than the Jets. I think that rumor he's talking about is due to Mike White's success filling in his shoes. They're talking about possibly moving on from him, but that's a conversation for another day. That's Jets' problem, not ours. We're looking forward to the draft. So another question came in. He said, which coach do you have your eye on during the offseason if they don't resign Saturday?
Lynn, do you want to go first?
Yeah,
I'll let you go first.
So there's a few guys that I would really love to target. D'Amico Ryans is probably, at the top of that list with what he's doing. And then on top of that, I think Dorsey, there in Buffalo would be a good option. I think the ship has kind of sailed on, Shane Steichen from Philadelphia, especially with the way that Sirianni kind of reacted after that game towards, Irsay and the decision makers here. I don't think he would necessarily be telling him that he should take the job in Indy, but and then also, I mean, if you kind of want to, Jim Harbaugh is obviously a name that's been thrown around here the last few weeks. I think he would be a fantastic hire as well. Really, you're just looking for somebody that can come in and kind of instill, the culture and, kind of change up from what they've been lacking here, and also to help develop and bring along that young quarterback that you hopefully go out and get somebody to grow with him. Perfect guy to do that would be somebody like Frank Reich. I think would be a really good option for a young quarterback. But I'm kind of trolling, but yeah, it's That D'Amico Ryans is probably high up there for me. I love that dude. Love everything about him. And Harbaugh would be another one that I'm really big on. I was thinking earlier today, I had a conversation.
Man, you gonna name all of them?
You about to see me get absolutely skewered on the internet after this take. Has anybody found out what Marvin Lewis is up to these days?
Get out.
I see exactly. I'm
Get
dead
out.
serious. I'm dead serious.
Get out,
dude.
Just talk about Jim Caldwell too. Then while you're at it,
I love Marvin Lewis. I love Jim Caldwell too.
Might as well bring up Hugh Jackson.
Nah. There's difference.
That's a stretch. That's a stretch. Hugh Jackson is much worse than Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis at least went to the playoffs multiple times.
Really,
Lovie Smith's about to be available.
Marvin Lewis's name.
Marvin Lewis went to the playoffs multiple times. So
with the Bengals, with that organization,
with the Bengals, Hugh Jackson went 3-36-1. So that wasn't a good comparison by me.
Put some respect on Marvin Lewis's name, but man, it's
so
that would be a guy that I would be like I said, I would get skewered on for this take, but I would be over the moon to get somebody like Marvin Lewis in this organization.
So my three guys, and I'm not ranking them who I would say. I think freaking Landon over here named the whole goddamn coaching carousel. I
can go deeper.
I know we can. I'm gonna give love to three guys who obviously my number one and the two guys following are just gonna be names I'm throwing out there who should get consideration. My number one guy is D'Amico Ryans. That's my number one guy. I mean, he's leading the defense. He's a leader there. He's getting more vocal as he grows as a coach. He got vocal last year. The guys play for him, and he just commands a locker room. And you see how he commands a defense. So I want to see how he commands an entire locker room. The number two guy, I really don't like him. I really don't. But damn it, does he bring results? And that's Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. I think if the Colts were to go get him, I think you would have to pay him a lot of money to leave Michigan. And I don't think Jim Harbaugh is a stupid man. I think he understands what Indianapolis is. They made headlines for some of the wrong reasons this season. So maybe some soul searching would have to be done there. But you can't argue with his success that he's had on both levels. You can't argue with it. I mean, he was highly successful at Stanford. And then he goes to San Francisco, goes to 3 NFC championship games and a Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback, and then goes to Michigan, and obviously you see what he's doing there. He should get consideration, even though I think he's a drama queen and he's very, I would say, passionate. I do think he brings results. I think he would have a strong coaching staff. And then number 3 is a guy I don't think anybody is thinking of, but number 3 for me, he just resigned from Stanford, David Shaw. I think he's a guy who has NFL connections. Obviously, he has a connection with Jim Harbaugh. He has connections. He is a guy who has, he's rejected a couple of NFL interviews because he's just always been comfortable at Stanford. But I think he's a guy who could not necessarily, I don't think he'll just walk right into a head coaching job. I think he'll start, if he does decide to go that route, if he doesn't want to stay in college. By the way, Cincinnati seems like a really good job for him in college. But if he decides to go to the NFL, he might just get an assistant and work his way up that way. David Shaw does really does intrigue me because of his connection with Jim Harbaugh. He loves Jim Caldwell. Tony Dungy is a mentor of his, and I would love to see him get an interview this time around. But those 3 guys are the guys that I have in mind.
Absolutely. Good picks. Shaw was
I just wanted to say the names that nobody else was saying.
Yeah, definitely Shaw was the one that nobody's really mentioning. So I agree with you on that. We're going to get to this last topic, going back to the game before we get up out of here. Hitting the hour mark. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Hit the like button. Also,
absolutely.
Comment if you haven't as well. Appreciate you, all the support. But the last question we didn't mention, I mean, we kind of hit a little bit on it when we talked about the defense was Zaire Franklin, but the defense in general is, it's one of these cores that you're not really used to seeing. We're used to the Colts having a good defense, but this year is a little different. This is special. And the fact that the offense, just lets them down week to week How do you feel about this Colts defense this year and how the offense is just not helping at all in general? Mike, I'll let you go first. How do you feel about this Colts defense?
Landon, I don't know if you know this, man, but I was a defensive player. I love defense. I've begged for defense to be played in Indianapolis for the past 12 years.
Yeah, I like.
Oh, dude, this pisses me off. When you finally get defense, you don't have any offense to back it up. Usually, you never had your defense to back up the offense that you had. And now it's vice versa. Like, you just can't get it right on both sides for one season. You just can't. It irks my nerve that this talent, this unit is being wasted. It is being wasted. Now, have they had some hiccups? Have they had some ugly drives? Absolutely. But you give the freaking Cowboys this defense. You give Philadelphia, I mean, their defense is probably better than ours. But you give this defense to any other contender right now, they would probably take our defense over their own. And that's probably a fact. They would take our defense over their own. And I'm just so frustrated that this unit, like, I enjoy when our defense is on the field. Imagine that. Me, who hated Matt Eberflus, I hated when the defense was on the field because it was almost a guarantee minimum 3 points every drive. But not this year. I enjoy when this defense takes the field. I enjoy watching Zaire Franklin and Bobby Okereke and Rodney McLeod and Julian Blackmon, Rodney Thomas, that tandem switching in and out constantly. I enjoy these different multiple looks that Gus Bradley deploys, and it gets no help on the other side. It gets no help on the other side, and I'm just I hate it. I hate it. I wish we could trade this whole defensive unit to somewhere where they would win a Super Bowl because they play championship defense.
Yeah, I used to love torturing you defensive players. Yeah, it's I view things as a quarterback, so never a good news whenever the defense is on the field. I don't ever want to see the defense on the field. I hope the offense can run the clock out every game. Never let the defense on the field. Because if the defense on the field, that means the other offense is on the field. But yeah, I mean it is disheartening, and they're being asked to carry too wide of a load, and it's tough, man. Yeah, because I know those guys have got to be frustrated, consistently being on the field and basically being asked to be perfect no matter what. Like they have to be perfect for this team to have a shot at winning, and far too often do they rise to that occasion, and it still finds a way to be let down. And you're starting to see kind of the cracks kind of show through over the last few weeks. You can only ask a defense to hold up for so long before what's that Led Zeppelin? So, well, never mind, I'm old, but what's that Led Zeppelin song where it's like when the levee breaks? It's an old rock song by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, you asking the wrong people.
I don't know if you young cats know about Led Zeppelin. If not, you should. But there's an old song that's called "When the Levee Breaks," and eventually you start seeing little minor cracks in that levee, and it holds and it holds and it holds and it holds, but eventually that water kind of flows through, and then boom, it's just going to bust. And that's what they're asking right now. The defense, it's tough to watch, and I think they've been fantastic for most of the year. I'd still love to see a better pass rush, out of them, but yeah, they're being asked to play perfect football, and that's an impossible task. So it sucks for them. It really does.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We're just going to give credit to Yannick Ngakoue. He had himself a pretty decent game. We talked about the pass rush, even though they let him just walk back there to get Kenny Pickett, but I think he had a pretty decent outing. And that was one of those things you was waiting for from him since we acquired him. And the fact that he showed up and we still lost was very heartbreaking, because I was like, this is the moment we could just rave. And the Colts, of course, let him down. So it was a very sad day. Shout out to Yannick again. Did you guys think Yannick had a good game, or did you think it was kind of like easy for him?
No, I really, like, if you want my honest opinion, I don't. I don't think he had a very strong game at all. I think you can look at the sacks, and one of those is just Philadelphia completely refusing to, or not Philadelphia, but the Steelers. It's
I think that was. I think the run where he was free. I think that was designed though, right, Landon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they just they just missed a guy wide open in the C gap. But
yeah,
it's I'm not going to give anybody credit. I mean, yeah, like you want to make the sack and make the tackle. Good for him for doing that. But I'm not going to sit here and like give you credit for that. Like that's just a blown offensive play. But outside of that, man, like he was very
quiet.
Yes, very, very quiet outside of
quiet as TJ, huh?
Yeah, you got to take the layups and you got to take the ones that are given to you. But I'd love to see him out there creating a little bit more havoc.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought he was, part of the Incredibles. The way he was disappearing out there. I didn't want to be the first one to say it. People would label me as a hater, but yeah, outside of those 2 sacks, again, I still, even if you look at the sack numbers, what is he at now? 9.
Yeah,
it's a very weak 9. It's a very weak 9. When you look at the pressures, the pressure win rate, the quarterback hits, I mean, they just don't equate to the numbers. They don't. They're not good. Sacks are a good stat, but when you look at the pressures, the quarterback hits, they're not that impressive to you. So if it was up to me, like when someone asked, would we bring back Paris Campbell, I would not bring back Yannick Ngakoue. I wouldn't. That's why I would say, if you didn't go quarterback, I wouldn't mind going an edge rusher. I really won't, because you got to pair somebody up with Kwity Paye, and Kwity Paye is well on his way, but unfortunately this injury is keeping him out.
I think he could be a strong piece to a rotation. That's what he is. He's a rotational guy. But as far as like just paying him top pass rush money and having him line up every snap, then no, absolutely not. But if he's willing to take a deal and he likes it here enough, and he's willing to be a part of a limited rotation and play a role, then yeah, I mean he has value.
Yeah, I agree. Good rotational piece, but for my mindset for the Colts, I would like to be young. I would like to be younger, especially on the edges, especially with Kwity Paye coming back. I think that helps the next person we do bring, maybe out the draft or out of free agency, whatever we do with that direction. Depends on what GM we have.
And again, and real quick, this may not even be dependent on if the Colts want him back. It's about if he wants to come back. Because remember, you're gonna have a new head coach. Does that head coach hang on to Gus Bradley? We could see a way where somebody comes in, hey, you know what? You did great. You can stay here. Or Yannick Ngakoue would just follow Gus Bradley as a free agent to where Gus Bradley goes, because he's played with him in Jacksonville, played with him in Las Vegas, and playing with him now in Indianapolis. So that's another key point.
Yeah, Landon could have made that laughing.
Oh no, I'm not as fast as I used to be, but
not as fast, but
reluctant for
sure. It ain't easy. It ain't easy lugging 225 pounds, as far as it used to go.
Yeah, but we definitely appreciate everyone that tuned in today. Hey, we will be back because we have a very amazing game next week, and it's going to be a game of the century that we're all going to enjoy. Hoping that our owner would tweet about it, talking about the 6. You know what? Speaking of that, I thought it was funny that he didn't mention the ticket sales or how the 42% Steeler fans in his building on that game. I thought that was quite hilarious. He didn't even mention this after the game, but he usually does after the victory. I did think that was funny before I leave.
Hey, bro, I'm gonna be in Dallas this weekend, but it ain't for that damn game. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I think you're going to go watch a better team.
I think I'm going to go watch a better team fight for a championship, something that Indianapolis hasn't done in a decade. So, no, but I mean, if we're being like legit, man, Ryman had a good game, but my goodness, I am so scared. Like, I am so scared. Bernard Ryman versus Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons just might break the sack record on Sunday. Like, this dude, he's the best pass rusher. I believe he is. He can be legendary. I'm not looking forward to that preview, but I'm also not looking forward to potentially getting embarrassed on Sunday night. So it might be another 60-7 game like when we played New Orleans that one year.
Like I said a few weeks back, I want Malik Hooker to get a sign that says "Hello Colts" after the game because I just know he's going to have a field day playing us, especially with Matt Ryan in that offense. I
Yeah,
just know it. I can't wait.
that should
But
be a
again,
good show.
it should. You guys stay tuned for that. Again, subscribe if you haven't, comment, hit the like button, post stream. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. That's Michael. This is Landon, and we are out. You guys have a good one.
See y'all.